So there hasn't been a whole lot of hope on the horizon in the superhero genre, at least not a whole lot recently. I think there might be a little bit of an upswing there with the release yesterday of James Gunn's poster for Superman, with the John Williams score announcing that the trailer is going to be coming out, I believe, on Thursday of this week. So there's a little bit of hope there. But when it comes to Marvel, it seems like there's just a whole lot of apathy. I don't see a lot of interest right now for Thunderbolts. Of course, Blade is still on indefinite who knows what because they are having so much trouble getting the project off the ground that they keep having to make announcements about it. All of these problems, Captain America, Brave New World has been through endless reshoots. It's an over and over again process. But one of the bright spots that could theoretically be on the horizon would be for the release of Daredevil Born Again, which of course, much like Captain America, Brave New World, seems to be the product of major retooling from the company, from Disney, because they realized that what they were starting with there was actually something that nobody really wanted, and that was that they wanted to make it ostensibly like She-Hulk. In other words, a poorly done legal drama that would have to then be retooled and reshaped as something else, much the way in which She-Hulk was, because from what I remember when the writers were talking, they got into the writing room and they realized that they didn't really know how to write courtroom scenes, therefore they couldn't do it. You need specialists to do something like that. You need specific writers to write courtroom scenes. I don't know if, was it Aaron Korsh, the guy who made Suits, maybe grab him. That was not what they ended up doing, but that's what they looked like they wanted to do for the original synopsis for Daredevil Born Again. So let's go through this article. This is from Cosmic Book News. It says, Scoop confirmed, Daredevil Born Again was another She-Hulk. We get some more insight into what went down with Marvel retooling Daredevil Born Again, exactly as my insiders told me over the summer, and then again months later as the trades play catch-up. They always do seem to be playing catch-up after the fact. Look at the credits. Someone like Valiant Renegade always gets later on down the road when he makes his predictions for the budgets of films and stuff like that. A lot of times the YouTubers end up being the ones that are a bit prophetic in this industry. So it says, along with new images of Charlie Cox as the Man Without Fear, Vincent D'Onofrio as Wilson Fisk, and Deborah Ann Wool as Karen Page, it's learned that Daredevil Born Again was initially going to be a legal procedure dumbed down, aimed at a wider audience. Recall that Charlie Cox first appeared in the MCU as Daredevil in She-Hulk, Attorney at Law. That's not getting a season 2. From what I understand, they're not going with season 2 of that. It had been conceived as a legal drama. We brought it back towards an action-based New York crime story. The real trick was to have the DNA of the old Netflix show, but push it forward with something very new. That's, to me, maybe the biggest problem with all of this is the desire to take something that works and then turn it into something new for the sake of that feeling that you have to continuously push forward, despite the fact that the formula for what you're working with already has proven itself successful. So Daredevil, the Netflix Daredevil series, which is of course not even on Netflix anymore, it is now over on Disney Plus, is a classic show and launched a series of shows to varying degrees of success. But there isn't a whole lot that has come out in the last 10 to 15 years, that is considered classic. But I do think that much in the way that a lot of the movie fans feel about the likes of Captain America, Winter Soldier, the likes of obviously the rest of the Marvel movies, all the way up to Endgame, right? They have strong feelings about that. A lot of people felt that way, and they felt that same drive and push towards the way that the Daredevil, the Punisher, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, and Iron Fist, to varying levels, right? Like, I liked pretty much all of those shows. I didn't even hate Iron Fist as much as a lot of other people did, but at the time it felt new, it felt different. And what I was wondering is that you've chosen to bring these characters back. You're not just going and starting Daredevil over again. Look, if you're going to make a tonal shift for the character, why even bring back an actor like Charlie Cox or Vincent D'Onofrio, who acted in a series that had a brutality to it that belies some type of middling, mildly humorous courtroom series? They don't need that. It doesn't help them, and it doesn't help the audience, who is going to be consistently looking at these characters and wondering why it feels so different from what they watched initially. The same thing is for the most part true when you saw Wilson Fisk show up in Hawkeye. He looks different. It feels different. It doesn't have the same tone as what you had in the Daredevil Netflix series, which is, of course, a very, very, very different production. And I actually liked Hawkeye, the series. I was one of the, I don't know if I was one of the few, but of all of the Disney Plus superhero Marvel shows, I think I liked that one the most. I liked the theme around Christmas. I liked the idea of Clint getting home for Christmas. I really, really enjoyed it. But why keep the same characters and then change so much of the premise and take it away from the action-based nature of the series? The reason why that show to this day has such a hold on the audience was its unbelievable use of cinematography, the dark feel to it that actually captured and worked. It wasn't dark in the way that we see now, which is that everything is lit at permanent dusk to help CGI blend better. It was dark because the story it was telling was dark and the writing caught up and worked with it. And the action scenes alone were a big part of the reason that people wanted to watch that show. Why make look, I understand Matt Murdock is a lawyer, but why focus on a series about a lawyer when we are talking about comic book characters? I'm not saying you can't make that as part of the show or one of the elements. Certainly they introduce Matt Murdock as a lawyer more than a few times when we're talking about the trial of the Punisher, the trial of the Punisher, or we're talking about him getting involved with getting Jessica Jones out of jail in the start of the Defenders and all of that stuff. You can do that, but what really drew people to Netflix Daredevil was stuff like the hallway fight scene or the scene from the top of the apartment building in season 2, or even one that I really loved in season 1. Were these great scenes where it was this scene where they're in the back of the car and there's the blind drug runner, and the camera is on a Lazy Susan and it's 360ing around the car as Daredevil fights henchmen around the car. And I was watching that recently, and it actually struck me how much of a chord it struck inside to watch something like that was so very clearly planned with care and precision, as opposed to the lack of precision that is just dumped into the CGI slop that comes from Marvel movies today. There is such a drastic difference there that you actually do a disservice to make your future projects in service of the Marvel Disney Plus slop rather than the beauty that was the Netflix Daredevil. So that's just my opinion on that. So they brought them back. It says, so what happens is that the following MCU failings on Disney Plus, not only did Bob Iger demand that Marvel pull back on content, but Kevin Feige rehauled its television division, which included retooling Daredevil Born Again to make it more in line with the popular Netflix series. I can't complain much about that. Hopefully the idea here is that in the search of actual profit or in the search of actual growth in business, that they give the audience what they want. And sure, it seems to have taken them several cracks of the whip to figure it out, but I can't complain if they actually learn their lesson and the product they deliver us with this next show is actually good. But you also can't be mad at the audience for feeling apathetic towards these types of things. And look, I saw some of the stills from the show, and it did, it's the dark feel of them walking through Hell's Kitchen, and I did get mildly excited for a moment. But also, when you pay attention to this stuff every day, you have that excitement drained out of you a lot of the times because there just isn't that hope that used to be there for these productions when their hit rate was higher on successful shows. I just think that this is the type of thing that I want it to do well. I'm going to watch it when it comes out. I don't know if it will do well, but just knowing that at one point they were dumb enough to believe that this should be changed, but bring back the same actors, which is such a discrepancy. It makes no sense whatsoever. Just knowing that the birth of this show came from that place is enough to give me pause. The same is obviously true right now for what's going on with Captain America Brave New World, which has gone through tremendous amounts of reshoots, retooling. The money that's been dumped into it is extreme because they've had to change the film and make it what is known as a Franken film because they have to find something that feels more in line with what an audience might actually want rather than the world that was pulled up from under them trying to make a movie for 2020 in the pre-Trump, the TDS era of Hollywood, and now realizing that they have to make something that is more in line with all audiences rather than one that has a political ideology. Knowing that this show was born out of that place, out of such a dumb idea, something like She-Hulk doesn't help. But I am cautiously optimistic. I'm looking forward to more trailers before it comes out. I would be interested to know down below, guys, if you have any interest in watching this show, what you think of the idea of trying to continue the success that was Daredevil, Netflix Daredevil on Disney+. Do you think it'll work? Do you think it won't? Let me know down below. Stay tuned for more videos. Talk to you soon, guys. Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.